From heat waves to cold snaps, Hong Kong has been hit by erratic weather patterns just days apart. By 2050, climate scientists predict that Hong Kong will be struck by at least one super typhoon on average each year. Now, more than ever, it has to take action. In this week's CNA Correspondent, we take a dive underwater and into dumpsters for a closer look at the city's climate solutions.
Winds of more than 200 kilometers per hour, torrential rain and flooding have hit Hong Kong as Super Typhoon Mangkhut made its way across the city. Now, all travel is paralyzed with almost 900 flights cancelled. Public transport services have also been suspended while shops and businesses remain closed. Mangkhut has been the most intense typhoon to hit the region this year.
At least 500 reports of smashed windows, over 60,000 on fallen trees, and more than 40,000 households lost power. 16 September 2018 was a day to remember. Super Typhoon Mangkhut battered Hong Kong with wind speeds of 175 kilometers per hour, shaking skyscrapers and sending boats crashing into the coastline. The storm surge of 2.35 meters was a record high since 1954, bringing the city to its standstill and losses of more than $500 million.
都好危啊，好緊張咯，好驚喎！死啦！嗰啲水咁犀利，啲浪咁勁嘅，我都未見過咁犀利。浸上嚟呢度㗎，浸到上嚟打上嚟呢度㗎。一陣風嚟就磅啊！一陣風嚟磅，一磅到我哋個頂嗰度咧，沖涼咧死到得，俾嚇死喎。
86-year-old Yong Si-yuk has lived in the fishing village of Lei Mun all her life. Until Typhoon Mangkhut hit, she had never feared losing her home, or the seafood store she runs by the edge of the water.
損失好重啊！有啲魚啦，又有呢啲機啦。 呢度又有雪櫃啦，4個雪櫃啦，一個洗衣機啦，又有電視啊，個電視都損失咗喎。呢啲櫃啦，同埋呢啲衣櫃啦，浸到霉咯，唔得咯，所以要買過。呢啲地下啦，全部都係鋪過，過咗身鐘咪加高咯，樣加高咯，用咗30幾包紅毛泥啊！
It's a sign of what's to come. Climate scientists predict that global warming will fuel more intense typhoons and the frequency of severe storm surge in Hong Kong. When that happens, Mrs. Yong's makeshift barriers won't stand a chance. Neither would the 10% of Hong Kong residents who live less than 5 meters above sea level. With major development projects like the ambitious northern metropolis coming up, the city now has a fresh start to build sturdier defenses.
Resilience means that we build a strong infrastructure that can perform well, reliable during the extreme weather, or that we can recover the systems rapidly. The social resilience means how we can protect the citizens, access to the hospital service, emergency service, access to food, water, and electricity.
Under its 2050 Climate Action Plan, authorities will strengthen coastlines by building more rock walls and breakwaters to cushion the impact of waves. It's also set aside US $153 million to link 2 reservoirs together in hopes of reducing flood risk in new developments.
There's a popular concept, nature-based solution, that we mimic the natural process to treat water, treat runoff. In China, there's a sponge city. In US, there's a named low-impact development. All of them are using nature-based solution to provide good protections of the citizens from the heavy rainfall, from extreme heat.
We're already seeing that play out in urban Hong Kong.
Our Farm Together projects have around 90 farms in Hong Kong and 1 farm in Singapore, spanning across 56,000 square meters, being one of the largest urban farming footprints in Hong Kong. We promote urban biodiversity as well as the wellness. But urban farming itself also helps to promote decarbonization, especially having greener area and helps to reduce the heat as well.
Private developers have an increasingly critical role to play, especially as business hubs and over 926,000 residences are expected to emerge in the 30,000-hectare northern metropolis.
So we actually deployed low-carbon materials in our development stage. We engaged an independent consultant to also work with us to have the climate risk assessment to cover over 170 properties in Hong Kong, and that includes the new building and existing buildings.
This includes installing typhoon-resistant windows to guard against extreme storms and fortifying buildings with flood barriers in low-lying areas. But climate resilience goes beyond just adaptive infrastructure.
When we talk about climate change, we should also look at it in a holistic approach. And biodiversity is actually part of climate change as well. And ocean is a very important resource to capture the importance of biodiversity, as well as actually to regulate the climate in the earth.
Hong Kong, including all of its outlying islands, has close to 1,200 kilometers of coastline. In short, it's completely surrounded by sea. Flood risks aside, there's a silver lining. Aquatic ecosystems like mangroves and coral reefs can serve as natural flood barriers to reduce wave energy and protect coastal communities. The problem is they're disappearing as urbanization speeds up. Restoring them is a long game that has to begin right now.
Hong Kong is home to some of the most resilient corals in the world, having weathered an environment that's affected by rapid coastal development. Now that, along with the pollution that comes with it, has taken a toll on the coral health system. So we're going down to see what exactly we're dealing with.
The corals were sparse, a dull brown, and some were fragmented. They weren't exactly brimming with life.
Corals were mined heavily in Hong Kong to produce slaked lime. We have a combination of factors like destructive fishing practices, dynamite fishing, which was phased out long ago, but then using benthic trawl nets that drag across the seabed and destroy it. Pollution of all different kinds, from sedimentation to nutrient pollution from sewage. Every problem that coral reefs face globally, you can find them right here.
So Dr. Baker co-founded Archi Reef, which restores degraded ecosystems through 3D printed tiles.
So in areas like urban reefs, we do see high rates of bioerosion, and that means that we need to be more vigilant in trying to salvage fragments of coral so that we can enhance and maintain the biomass of corals locally to give them a second chance. This is actually modeled after a coral in Hong Kong called Platygyra, which is very resistant to sedimentation stress. We use the tile as a substrate to attach fragments to, just like this little guy, and we can give them a head start at colonizing the tile itself.
It will take time, so researchers are constantly on the lookout for new project sites.
Restoration thus far has not been able to succeed in creating large-scale structures that can buffer coastlines, that can protect us from tsunamis and storm damage and so forth. But by fostering the overall biodiversity and by creating conditions through which more corals can be produced, they can achieve that over longer timescales.
Whether it's cleaning up the deep blue or greening the city, it's time to make a sea change before the next big wave hits. Let's talk about trash. Hong Kong's landfills are running out of space. The less we waste, the less we add to the pile. It sounds simple enough, but is it easy to stick to it? For instance, do you pack your food to go if you can't finish it while dining out? And if you do you bring along a reusable container? Now, it's not the most intuitive thing to do, but one thing that's certainly catching on is this: reusable bags. It's now become the norm to carry this around while shopping or even dining out. That comes only after years of public education as well as a plastic bag levy. Hong Kong has laid out plans to reduce its pressure on landfills by 2035. We're going to see how that's working out to change the culture of convenience. It's 8 p.m., just after dinner time. Almost like clockwork, residents at this public estate in Aberdeen stream out with their trash. These are smart recycling bins for food waste. Residents can earn up to 50 points a day when they recycle. 150 points fetches you a packet of noodles, while 1,000 points gets you 1 kilogram of rice. The incentives draw the crowd, but a deeper reason keeps them coming.
有啲咧就覺得好煩啊，日日都落嚟倒有啲咁嘅心態，有啲會。但係以我哋即係市民嚟講，應該嚟講就大家保持一個呢個嘅心態，反而就好，我覺得幾好。最好就永遠持續落去咯，比較方便啲嘛。同埋大家都有養成一種良好嘅習慣。
佢一路做落去，我就一路係咁咯。佢肯收嘅，我咪肯倒咯。即係我見到好多人都有啲即係比較年紀仲大過我嘅，佢學識咗之後，佢都會落嚟。
減少咗起碼好似我都差唔多1/3嘅垃圾量啦，咁就唔使存放喺堆填區咯。咁可能有其他個作用，可能令到佢做農作物嘅肥料啊，或者係一啲飼養嘅飼料咁樣咯，咁可以減少啲，同埋可以活用翻咯，即係唔需要浪費咗。咁我哋都希望為下一代着想，都做翻呢樣嘢咯。
The 18-month trial is a government initiative to get residents into the habit of recycling. It's collected about 43 tons of food waste across 5 estates since kicking off last October. That's on top of some 200 tons from an earlier trial. But that's just a fraction of the 3,400 tons of food waste the city produces in just a day. Despite its relative success, it's still too early to tell if the trials are here to stay, as the government will need to further study their cost-effectiveness. Meanwhile, one non-profit organization is offering an alternative.
The pilot scheme's duration is really short-term, usually ends in 1 to 2 years. And they cannot provide free services and incentives for a very long period of time. And we want to convey a message that producing waste is associated with a cost. And it is our responsibility to reduce or recycle food waste.
Ivan charges residents $14 a month for food waste collection. He currently has 150 household subscribers, mostly on Hong Kong Island. Expansion is on the cards, but it hasn't been easy.
I think Hong Kongers does not take food waste recycling and environmental protection seriously. In Hong Kong, we chase for speed and convenience. Many people feel troublesome to do more steps for environment. Yeah, if we do not do more green education or some promotion on food waste recycling or even green education in general, I think the environment in Hong Kong will get worse and worse.
Food waste makes up 30% of Hong Kong's total municipal solid waste. Some of that come from places like restaurants, hotels, and even food processing industries, while a good 68% of that come straight from our homes. If you think about it, that's really a lot of waste as a product of our lifestyle choices. And for years, all these get tossed into landfills. Unfortunately, food waste can't break down well in landfills. They produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. Since 2018, Hong Kong has been turning food waste into compost and biogas at an organic resources recovery centre. In 2021 alone, the city recycled 66,100 tons of food waste, a 21% increase from the previous year. A second plant will be up by next year. it will be able to convert about 300 tons of waste per day into electricity and generate enough in a year to power about 5,000 households. This concept of a circular economy will only work if recycling volume on all fronts continues to go up. After the break, we'll find out how that plays out in a city that's so used to a culture of convenience. From local roast meat joints to renowned restaurants, Hong Kong is a well-known culinary destination. But with it comes a staggering amount of packaging waste. Plastic containers, bottles, and cutlery account for 21% of solid waste in 2021. The city is clamping down on this by doubling a plastic bag levy, and it will soon ban restaurants from providing disposable plastic cutlery. Some, like this plant-based restaurant, are already far ahead in the game.
All of the packaging that we use is fully compostable or industrially compostable. When it comes to the environment, we try to use as much as possible upcycled or different textures and fittings that do fit with our value system. That's why you'll see a lot of bamboo in the shop itself. So bamboo is a highly renewable wood.
When you dine at Treehouse, you've got to fully commit to the experience.
All in the middle is good. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a lot about informing what can be put in each bin. Also, this one is good. Thank you. So informing exactly where everything goes. But on average, we run around inside the kitchen 3 to 6 kilograms of food waste, and then on this side 6 to 8 kilograms of packaging and food waste, and we measure it every single night. That gives us a metric that most business owners don't operate with, but it's a very valuable insight into your business.
Christian believes that once restaurants understand what goes into their waste, they can take steps to reduce or recycle them to save costs. Still, for any major shifts to happen, smaller players like local diners, which populate the city's food scene, need to get on board.
茶餐廳相對係比較細嘅，我諗佔我哋嘅顧客裏邊唔到5%。最大原因應該係個成本問題啦，因為茶餐廳其實喺香港都係一啲平民化嘅餐廳啦，嗰啲餐都係唔會太貴，咁所以嗰個餐具上面嗰個成本嘅增幅對佢哋嚟講，的確係幾艱難。
Rick Hon runs local startup Pure Earth, which produces eco-friendly packaging made of natural fiber. It's an alternative to plastic and styrofoam boxes. Business has been brisk during the pandemic, as more restaurants pivoted to just offering takeaways during sporadic lockdowns. Rick now wants to make sure the smaller players have access to these resources.
我哋自己其實諗緊點樣可以喺茶餐廳方面去做多啲嘢咧？我哋就係諗緊可以用一啲相對平價啲嘅一啲餐盒啦，比較大量啲去做，咁啊再配搭埋一啲餐具，做一個set 啦嚇，筷子、匙羹加個盒，咁希望可以用一個相宜啲嘅價錢，去令到茶餐廳可以多啲誘因去轉咯。亦都配合翻政府可能去嚟緊，去改變嗰個環保政策啦，去禁一啲塑膠啦。
The ban is among a raft of measures Hong Kong is rolling out to reduce pressure on its landfills, while it builds more waste-to-energy facilities. Under the city's Waste Blueprint 2035, which sets out a roadmap for zero waste and carbon neutrality, residents will soon be charged for municipal solid waste. It aims to reduce the per capita disposal by up to 45% and raise recovery rate to 55%. So recycling stores like this have popped up all across the city since the Environmental Protection Department expanded its community recycling network in 2020. Different NGOs have been appointed to run each store.
Since March 2022, Green at Heaven Value has collected over 194 metric tons of recyclables. The largest amount of recyclable is waste paper, with a total of about 77 tons, accounting for about 40% of the total recycling volume. So if the citizens or the residents can recycle more, that means the solid waste charge they will pay in the future will be less.
The network collected around 14,400 tons of recyclables in just 2021 alone. But how well do residents recycle?
Some of them do not know that Tetra Pak can be recycled. Some of them treat Tetra Pak as waste paper, but indeed we can separate to recycle Tetra Pak.
A common complaint among recycling operators is that people don't sort their trash properly. So things like plastic bottles as well as food containers, they have to be cleaned and dried before being disposed of. But then you have things like this, that's made up of 2 different materials. So what do I do about this?
Because this calendar is made of metal and also the paper. You need to separate first and also put it in the right recycling bin.
Public education goes a long way. And that's why the operators have set up more mobile collection points throughout different districts. The platforms are readily available. The onus is now on residents to make a lifestyle change.